Hi, in this video, I want to talk about how you can use AI for your personal branding. So what we're talking about here is how you can use AI on social media platforms such as LinkedIn and Facebook to make great content that shows thought leadership and will help you advance in your career or sell more products in your business. So why is personal branding so important? I think in a world where AI will take more and more jobs, it will be key to differentiate yourself. It will be key to show how you are different and what you can offer. So personal branding is nothing new. Um, the challenge, I think, for most people in their career is that they can't find the time to do personal branding. So, for example, writing a few good LinkedIn posts that really show thought leadership every week can easily take you a few hours, maybe even more. And it's just hard to find that time to do that week in and week out. So most people, including myself in most of my career, don't really get around to it. It's something we do not prioritize. I do think it's important, though, to prioritize it. And in the periods of my life where I've done it, I've seen really good results from it. And talking about the results, first, I'm now going to talk about how we should measure our success in terms of building our personal brand. And secondly, I will show you an example on how to build a thought leadership article with the help of AI. So first of all, the impact we want from personal branding is we want to further our career, for example. So it means we would like a promotion or we would like a new job. So basically, we want to make people aware that we exist. And secondly, we want to make them aware of the skills we have. So I'm not talking about like how many followers we have, how many likes we have, how many comments are on your posts. I actually think these metrics are not the right ones to measure success on social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook. What is really important is that your video or your post gets in front of the right people and they think the right thing when they see it. Let me explain that a little bit further. So about 60 to 70% of all C-level personnel, and they would normally be the one responsible for promoting or hiring you, they are on LinkedIn. About 95% of all recruiters, they're also on LinkedIn. So when they're searching for somebody and they find you on LinkedIn, they will probably have a look at your posts. Now, these are not typically the people who would engage. They would not comment or like. Actually, there's a term for it. They're called the lurkers on LinkedIn. And here's the important point. These people, while they may not express that they think your post is great, the important thing is what they're thinking. The important thing is that they might remember you and that you've left a good impression and that you've shown the expertise you have in the post. And I've experienced this a lot of times. I meet C-level personnel who has hired me to do a keynote or consultancy work or even hired me for a job. And many of them actually mention, well, I saw you on LinkedIn, I saw you on YouTube, it was really interesting. So when you get to that point, you're already way ahead because people feel they know you and they already bought into the fact that you know what you're talking about, that you have expertise on the matter. So it is a major advantage, and this is how you should measure the impact. You will not make more money by getting a ton of likes. Okay, so let's move on. When I talk about using AI to create posts or videos, I'm not talking about AI actually writing the content for you. I mean, what's important here is that you show your expertise. You need to show that you're special. And that will not happen if you make AI do the content. You've probably seen a ton of LinkedIn posts where suddenly everybody are digital experts, AI experts, and it's just clear that it's all written by AI. This will not further your brand at all. Actually, I think it will do the opposite. So what we're talking about here is upping the quality of the posts that you're going to share on LinkedIn or Facebook, but also do it in a more time efficient manner. If you're interested in this, do watch this video to the end, where I will reveal all my tactics on how to do this most effectively. So where do we begin? What should you actually write about to show thought leadership? Obviously, that depends on what industry you're in and where you want to show your expertise. You can use AI for this part as well. You could just go into ChatGPT and say, list topic ideas for this and this industry. How can I show thought leadership? But I think that should be the last resort. You should know yourself what you want to write about. It should be something that really interests you, something you have an opinion about, and something you believe will make sense to people who are going to hire you or promote you. Now, so the topic I've chosen here, because I'm in the AI field and what I do sell are keynotes, is one of the things I want to talk about is the challenges that Europe are facing in terms of AI, and how the quite restrictive policies that the EU are enforcing is actually making it a lot more difficult for companies to compete in Europe, and how the financial decline of Europe versus the US and Europe is going to continue. So a good way to start is, I obviously have my opinions on this already, right? But we'll need some data to dig further into this and to validate the opinions. So one start would to be to gather relevant articles on the subject and feed it in to ChatGPT. So basically what you do is you open ChatGPT, and within ChatGPT, it's time to feed ChatGPT to, we can feed it with relevant information and articles, and that will help ChatGPT to kind of form this article we want to write that will still be our own, but we'll be adding background material. So we can do something like this. We're now ready to start working. And I think in this instance, there are two main routes we can take. So if we're in a bit of a hurry and do not have time to research articles, we can simply rely on what ChatGPT has of information about the subject. And it also has access to the internet. So we can probably write a quite decent article along with having a conversation about the topic with ChatGPT. But if you have a little more time, I would suggest you find some relevant articles that you copy and paste into ChatGPT, and then you simply combine the idea you told GPT about the article you had with the information from the articles, and you then have ChatGPT propose an article it could write based on both your own input and based on the input from the article. So already at this point, you have made the subject your own. And so let's see what ChatGPT is coming up with based on this information.
The European Union's strict data regulations, especially the GDPR, while protecting user privacy, are contributing to a widening economic gap between the EU and global leaders like the United States and China. Over the past 15 years, the EU's economy, once 10% larger than the US, is now 23% smaller. The GDP growth comparison shows a stark difference. 21% for the EU, 72% for the US, and an impressive 290% for China. A significant reason for this disparity is the EU's lag in innovation, particularly in technology. Major AI tools like OpenAI's Sora and Meta AI are unavailable in the EU due to regulatory restrictions. These tools have transformative potential in areas like digital marketing and education.
Okay, so let's just pause ChatGPT here. It has apparently, with the input I've given it, written a quite long article, and it sounds pretty good. But I still want to make sure to make the article my own, and I do have quite significant input to change and personalize this article. So this is what I'll do. I again go into voice mode of ChatGPT. Hi, ChatGPT. Can you just change the article with the following points? First of all, add that the Vice President Vance of the US did a keynote at an artificial intelligence summit in Paris last week, where he spoke about the need for deregulation in Europe. So kind of add that scope that the US is calling for deregulation. And mention that because of regulation, a lot of US AI tools, for example, OpenAI Sora, Google's VEO2, which are two of the leading video tools, together with a ton of other AI tools, are actually not available in Europe. And it makes the European companies who are dependent on AI tools not being competitive in the global market. So put that in there. Also, please add that I see three options for Europe. One would be to invest extremely aggressively in AI and create their own, and that way maybe keep the regulation because they have so strong AI tools by themselves. But this would take a very large investment. They would need to invest more than the US Stargate project, which is around 500 billion over 4 years. And the planned EU investments are not at that size at all. It's around half or a little bit less than half. So if they want to catch up with China or the US, they will need to invest potentially a trillion, so double of what the US is doing. So that would be one option. The second option would be to drop the regulations so the European companies have access, and then focus much more on implementation. So Europe could be the so-called champion of implementing AI and potentially lead in some niche areas of AI. With the current plan investments combined with deregulation, I think that would be an option. The third option is to say, okay, Europe cannot compete on technology. It's basically what I think we've done the last 10, 15 years. We will continue to see a larger and larger gap between the European and the US economy. And I think Europe will, in this instance, become more of a museum. So can you add these points in to the article? J.D. Vance's wake-up call: can Europe avoid becoming the museum of the world? At the recent Artificial Intelligence Summit in Paris, J.D. Vance, the newly appointed Vice President of the United States, delivered a blunt message. Europe must reduce its AI regulations to stay competitive. His speech was a wake-up call the European Union, EU, desperately needs. The reality is stark. In the 1990s, the EU accounted for almost 28% of the global GDP, surpassing the US. Today, the EU's share has dropped to 16%. If this decline continues, the EU could fall to just 10% of global GDP, with profound consequences. Diminished spending power. European citizens would no longer enjoy the same standard of living as those in the US or China. Weakened security. With shrinking financial resources, the EU would struggle to maintain a credible defense, further relying on external powers. 3 future scenarios for Europe. Aggressive leadership strategy. The EU could double its AI investments, matching or surpassing US initiatives like the Stargate program. While the EU has proposed similar projects, current investment levels are less than half of what's needed. Achieving leadership in AI would be ambitious, but would require bold deregulation and massive funding. Niche player approach. The EU could focus on specific sectors like education and healthcare, leveraging existing US and Chinese AI models. By becoming a global leader in these niches, Europe could remain relevant. However, deregulation remains essential for this strategy to succeed. The museum of the world. The most dangerous scenario, Europe settles into being a charming but economically stagnant region, admired for its culture but irrelevant in the AI race. Without significant change, this default future is likely. In conclusion, Vance's call for less regulation should not be ignored. Europe must choose, lead, specialize, or fade. Without urgent action, the EU risks becoming a beautiful museum, lacking in innovation, defense, and prosperity. So after a few more iterations with ChatGPT, here we have the final article, and I just have created this picture we see here in Midjourney, and now we are actually ready to go and post the article on LinkedIn. I also wanted to do a Danish version, and it is as easy as asking ChatGPT to translate the version to Danish, which is also done. And I also wanted to do a summary version. And again, that is just one message to ChatGPT, and we have a summary of the article as well. So, in other words, what would have normally taken, I think, somewhere between 2 and 3 hours to create, we have created in somewhere between, I would say, 20 to 25 minutes. And again, I think there's no plagiarism at all. The final article has nothing to do with the base material. I've just made sure that all facts have been checked via ChatGPT and the articles that I've uploaded to ChatGPT as well. So I think using AI in this way will make it much more time efficient to prioritize personal branding on, for example, LinkedIn and Facebook. But let me know what you think. Let me know if this was useful. Thank you.